I've been following you since you were sitting on the subway, interviewing people about random topics that were hot button issues. And now I've seen a lot more clips of you that do go in that more controversial, ask the tough questions vein. We were talking earlier about how you have a whole army of people that clip up your content and share it now that you've been censored. But that censorship really happened almost overnight for you. Like in the last 3 weeks, you had Twitter and then TikTok and then YouTube completely wipe your account and your millions of followers and subscribers off the map because of what they are calling repeated community guidelines violations. What happened there?
And you forgot about, I was eating a salad on Twitch and I got banned from Twitch. That was my backup option. So it all really happened it was slow. Like when I started streaming, I started getting strike after strike after strike, even some false strikes that I appealed. The first one was for COVID misinformation. Then I got one for election misinformation and nudity. They removed that one. And the last one was for cyberbullying for an old video that was up for 3 months. I had this joke where I went, when girls had their eyelashes really, the Walgreens glued on ones. I see, Isabel, you have natural eyelashes. I'm a fan of that. I think these look a little bit goofy. And I guess they consider that cyberbullying and harassment that I was making fun of that. I can't believe like a joke that's like pretty popular on TikTok in my community now was actually one of the reasons I got banned. And I got removed off of Twitter for violence. I got removed off of Twitch for ban evasion, TikTok for harassment.
Wait, what is ban evasion? What does that even mean?
It means that I'm evading a ban. There's a bunch of reasons why that could happen. I never had a Twitch account before 2 weeks ago, or last week. I think somebody was probably streaming my live stream clips on Twitch and they got banned. And then I'm evading the ban because I was already banned. Or they just banned me because I was evading a ban on YouTube. There's no real way to know. I failed the appeal. And now I'm just collabing and guest streaming on YouTube on someone else's account because he's in the bathroom, unfortunately. He's not here, but yeah.
It's a long bathroom break, but we appreciate that for all of you guys that are watching on YouTube. We are streaming on Getter, which is a platform that is new to the live streaming game. I'm new to the streaming world as a streamer, but something I've really loved about this platform is that I don't have to worry about censorship. I don't have to worry about an election strike or a COVID misinformation strike or bullying people because I happen to say that men are men and women are women and you can't be either one, depending on how you were born. So it's crazy that that's a world that we have to live in. Twitch, which was your backup to being banned on YouTube, is actively censoring words like white or straight for their creators. I saw a video go super viral on TikTok about that the other day, but you can label yourself as a black streamer or a gay streamer or a trans streamer. Do you think there's any hope for the Twitches and YouTubes of the world, or what is that void going to look like with platforms like Getter and Rumble and some of these new age platforms?
You know what I almost did before streaming on Twitch? I was going to put they, them in my bio, and I was going to come out as a trans POC streamer and really try to like bank on all the minority points I could, but it was too late. I should have put it in a little bit sooner. It's looking bad for all the big tech companies. I think people are starting to realize that the fact that they've banned everybody right wing or who just doesn't even align. I'm not that political, but just anybody who doesn't align with the liberal, woke, globalist agenda, they get banned. And so eventually people are going to start seeking out content that's actually resonating with them and it's on a different platform. So we don't want to see the same bullshit. I think it's going into the wrong direction. You see what happens, like one of the top streamers, Amaranth, who was like one of the hot tub streamer. Actually, I went on an e-date with her a couple months back before all the banning, and she's one of the top streamers. They promote her everywhere, and she was just exposed or she wasn't exposed. She put herself with like crying, saying that her husband was forcing her to do all these hot tub streams, and she has all these, I could say simps on Getter, right? She has all these simps watching her, and she's married the whole time.
How sad that you even had to ask that question, by
yeah,
the way.
I forget. You got to be very careful with your language. I say limping a lot of the time, but basically she was being pimped out by her husband to be a Twitch streamer. And it's just kind of like you see her crying and it's on the front page. It's like, what the hell? Twitch used to be a gaming platform, and now you have like literal like modern day whores on there crying, being pimped out. It's unfortunate, and I don't know the fact that like a girl got fucked on Twitch, and you could see it in the reflection of the mirror in the back. She's literally getting fucked. She got a 7-day ban. I eat a salad and get permabanned. So
that's crazy.
People
I honestly can't wrap my head around that, to be honest. And what talk, you can post literal pornography and you're fine. You're allowed to have an account. But if you ask tough questions or make fun of people's eyelashes, you're a bully and you're promoting hate speech. So you can't be on our platform.
Right.
It's insane. Like, where does that double standard come from?
How did you end up on Getter? Were you censored too, or you?
I have been really censored. Luckily, I'm holding on to my accounts pretty much across platforms, although I've been permanently deleted on TikTok 4 times. So I have a big red account warning every single time I post anything these days. I ended up on Getter early on with the platform. They started last July. And the live streaming aspect of everything is pretty new, probably about like 8 months old. And I've been streaming here and there, but just started streaming. This is my 4th week of doing this every single day. And what I love about this platform is I think they're not making the same mistakes as a lot of new age platforms where they're pigeonholing on one type of content. Getter's doing short form vertical videos like Reels or TikToks. They're doing live streaming. They're doing video uploads. They're doing the text only posts like Twitter. And frankly, I think it's really user friendly and I love it compared to a lot of the other free speech platforms out there.
Yeah, I didn't realize that they had a live streaming option, and I thought it was just like the new age Instagram, but the fact that it has every single capability is a good thing. And right now I'm in the stage of looking for the next platform because I don't think that this is a long-term option. I'm hoping he's going to come out of the bathroom sometime soon, but you never know. He could come back from the bathroom anytime. And it's good that there's these alternative platforms. But one thing I kept talking about in my documentary, I said it a lot before they deleted my main channel as well, which for your audience, if they don't know, they had no strikes. They deleted not only my main channel, but also a lot of fan channels too. And I'm sure that those people are in the chat right now. Anything with my name was getting deleted. And before my main channel I had this documentary up, and I was saying that free speech is really under attack, and there's a clear agenda that's going on. And the people that are victims of this and the people that have experienced their freedom of speech being taken away need to work together to build a own platform and to fight against this problem, because it's very easy to get a cash grab. It's very easy to go to these other alternative sites and just make money and not think about the bigger picture. But I think everybody who operates on these alternative websites that don't align with big tech all have the same motivations and all believe in the same ideas. So if those people like Kanye West, Andrew Tate, Alex Jones, Donald Trump, anybody, the Snowdens and the Julian Assanges of the world, those type of people, if we could all work together to try to build a platform that can really beat these solidified big tech platforms, then we can win. But if everybody keeps going to these alternative sites, I don't see how it's going to be possible.
Yeah, I've long been an advocate for staying where culture is, as well as trying to build a better platform, right? I think there's a lot of right of center people that would advocate to just boycott the Instagrams and TikToks and YouTubes of the world. But if we're really serious about changing people's minds, we have to go to where the people are. And the vast majority of people are still on those platforms. So I'm glad that you have your army of clippers who are out there getting your content out there, even when you can't be posting about it. You brought up a lot of buzzword names there. And I want to talk to you about something I love about your content that's very unique as a streamer. The whole just chatting concept that got very popular on Twitch is very big on the left. You have the Hassan Pikers of the world. You have the Destinys of the world, although I wouldn't necessarily even label Destiny as a leftist necessarily. But there's not a lot of people willing to sit down and talk to people that they disagree with and openly challenge the narrative and break down that barrier. You did a lot of that. So who are some of the people that you've sat down with on streams, on videos that you guys are making? And what do some of those conversations look like when you're arguing over these cultural issues?
Well, the first one that I want to talk to is your friend, Brett Cooper. I think that should be a great one to have on here. I think we could have some great conversations. But I would say my favorite ones that I've talked to are people like Jadeon, Destiny. Even I like disagreeing with people. I really like talking to Bryce Hall. Surprisingly, he's like a famous dancing TikToker, shirtless guy. And I liked Young Don was great. Abba, I had great conversations with. But Destiny was probably the one that I debated with the most. And I know that our chats really do not align at all. But I think that's what makes for great content. The fact that it's almost like a battle. And I liked Bryce Hall because he was, you could tell that like he has a big deal on Netflix and stuff like that. He makes a lot of money doing these movies. And so he's inside of Hollywood. He's part of the system. And so I was asking him difficult questions like, do you think there's a war on masculinity? Do you think there's spiritual warfare? Do you think they're trying to turn men into women and women into men? And he's like, like malfunctioning because he's thinking about Netflix deal. So I could tell he was agreeing and he was happy that I was talking about this. But at the same time, he's like, please don't get me fired. And then afterwards, he DM'd me just a shh. emoji. Not saying anything. I'm not trying to like get the Netflix executives, but I'm just saying he's like, I agree, but I can't say it.
Do you get a lot of those DMs from people or people that you don't even stream with, but bigger people and content creators on these alternative platforms or the older ones that are secretly agreeing with what you say, but they're too afraid to say it out loud?
Yeah, especially people who work in woke industries, if they're teachers, if they work in the arts, if they're actors, models, like anybody who works in a woke industry, I could see it. You could type a 1 in the chat right now if this is you. A lot of them live vicariously through this type of content because they have to live around these woke fucking nonsense people all day goddamn long, talking about nothing, and everyone's like gender pronouns and trying to weave around and like, well, I don't think this, but yeah. And they're like, oh, and they hate their lives. And even in real life, I've met people like you know what's funny? Any successful business owner or anybody who's made their own money and who's had to do it the independent way, they all know the truth. They're all red pilled to some extent. Making money will red pill you. But if you're caught in the matrix, if you're a wage slave and if you have a ton of bosses and you have to answer to somebody else, most likely you're going to be woke because you don't have the same level of satisfaction and accomplishment that people who make their own money get. And so when you have to work hard for your own money, you have to understand how money and power and all of that works. And so I've met successful business owners who are in their early 20s, women, and I'll talk to them and I'm like, you're around all these woke people all day long. Like, did you get the booster? Did you vote for Trump? Would you have opinions about Israel and China? Shh. And they just go around their day, make their TikToks, do a cute little dance, do that thing, play the game, know how the bots work, know how to leverage them for business, and then keep all of their agenda quiet. And then they live vicariously through stuff like this. And I understand why. Because I go fully into it. And look, I got deplatformed. I got my channel that I worked on for 9 years ripped away.
You keep using the word red pill, which is a very specific buzzword. Would you say that you didn't always agree with a conservative or right of center perspective, and what brought you there?
I can tell you're a conservative, and I think I align more with conservative values now, but I wouldn't call myself a conservative. I don't think I will ever align politically. I think I will like individuals, but I don't want to put myself in a box.
Yeah.
I think it's better for me, like as someone who's trying to seek truth, to not be aligned with anything. But I realized that I was red-pilled or not woke and not liberal, just understanding how the world works. And I told you, doing all the interviews that I did, and I get complaints about this from my OG fans, people who've been watching my main channel stuff, and you saw the shift, but the reason that you haven't went away is because you understand my trajectory. You understand why I saw that. Doing the 1 minute podcast and doing street interviews, talking to so many people, made me realize the truth. So the first question I did on the 1 minute podcast was, is it okay to be fat? And then everybody who said it was okay to be fat had no justification, had no valuable reasons for it. They didn't know. And I asked people, are men and women equal? And everybody who said, yeah, they're equal, they never knew how to go past level 2 of that question. It was just like the surface level belief. And then I started interviewing and talking to more people and talking to elders, talking to successful people. And I'm like, the truth is very obvious, but it's all cloud and a bunch of nonsense. And then when I started to get out of the woke bubble, I realized like, okay, I guess I'm an alt-right person now. These guys are calling me Fox News anchors. And I voted for Trump in 2016 after being a Bernie Sanders supporter. I liked Bernie Sanders.
Wow, that's a big switch.
That's a big switch. I'm completely anti-establishment, anti-Hillary, and Bernie. No matter what you think about, I can tell you're you don't like socialism and everything. I understand that. But Bernie, to me, maybe you think it's full of shit. I always thought that Bernie seemed like a genuine person. Bernie seemed like he believed in what he was saying. He stayed consistent over years. He wasn't taking money from outsiders. He seemed like he believed what he was saying, and that matters to me more than your policy. I would like to support someone who believes in what they're saying. And then the DNC fucked him. And then I was like, I can't vote for Hillary. I'm going to vote for I'm with her? She should be in jail. I'm not, what? What is this? And then even though I always thought Trump was funny, I'm like, fuck it, man. This guy's anti-establishment. Fuck the government. Fuck the establishment. I voted for Trump. And I kept it secret for a long time. I didn't tell anybody. And even in that time period where I finally came out as a Trump supporter, I should have a pride parade for me. Like, I'm a Trump supporter. No. I was even like, I went down like the Andrew Yang pipeline. I liked some Democrats for a little bit, but yeah, I've went through, I think all of us, even probably you, we've all been through woke phases. We've all been brainwashed spots before.
Well, so I would agree with something that you said there about not wanting to put yourself in a box. I feel like that more every single day because what's really frustrating to me is when people say that they have these really strong opinions, but they don't take the time to understand the depth of those opinions, right? They have opinions a mile wide, but an inch deep. And that's frustrating to me because you claim that one side or the other has this moral high ground. And in reality, most people in positions of power and with microphones today are really just parroting talking points from somebody else. And I think there's a really interesting window that's opening up right now for an independent candidate for something, for an independent voice. I always like to say we're living in a 4-party system disguised as 2 parties right now. Like we are just experiencing the biggest gaslighting scheme of all time because most people really wouldn't consider themselves to be DNC blue proud or RNC red proud. And I think there's a really interesting conversation arising with our generation about that.
You don't think Trump was that? Because a lot of
I do think that, but now I worry that the brand of Trump, I mean, I worked for Trump. I interned in the 2018 Trump White House, which was amazing and a very, very cool experience. Yeah, I did. And he's awesome. Very much not what the media says he is, by the way, as you probably can guess. But I worry that the brand Trump has been so disfigured by the media, by people in power, even by the right, trying to make him fit into this box when he doesn't fit into a box, that it's been so distorted it's not what it was in 2016.
Yeah. So I guess they would do the same thing to the next independent, though. They would do the same thing for the next Trump. And maybe with enough time off, I think Biden has done a good job of making Trump look a lot better. And I think we've also seen how easy it is to manipulate people with the media. A lot of the bullshit narratives, the Russian disinformation, all the lies that the media tried to spread about Trump have kind of faded away. And I even think a lot of people think that the FBI indictment is a bunch of horse shit. So my hope is that he can run again and do well. Maybe somebody like Ye could run. He's been talking about that in the drink champs. I don't know what you think about him, but I think there's really, I agree that there's somebody, an outsider is just, that's inevitable with the direction we're going right now. What do you think about Nick Fuentes?
I personally would say I probably disagree with the vast, vast, vast majority of what Nick says. I've never had an opportunity to talk to Nick directly, so I'd be interested in embracing that opportunity maybe in the future. But I know you stream with him a lot. You've done that a couple of times.
I did yesterday too.
Did you expect to agree with him? Did you go in thinking you would disagree with him a lot? And how did you find common ground?
I went in thinking, and I'm surprised you disagree with him a lot because he loves Trump. He really aligns with him. He's all America first. It seems like they have a lot in common. Maybe it's some of the race theory that he talks about or the international policy but I went in thinking that I was going to dislike him. I just thought he was funny. I was streaming every day. I'm like, who should I react to? And then people will just list names and I react to them. And then I clicked on a Nick Fuentes funny moments and I was laughing my ass off. Even though he said some stuff that I thought was a little racist. I'm like, let me talk to him. And we talked and I started like nodding my head like, yeah, I agree with all this shit. And then I started learning about how he was deplatformed. And I started my stream with the ideology that if they censor it, it's true. That seeing the level of censorship happening right now, they must be hiding something. It can't be to protect us from information. There must be something that they're hiding. And he was the most deplatformed person on the entire internet. So maybe you haven't, I don't know how much of his policies or his ideas you have invested in, but I went in like you. And even afterwards, I talk about this all the time. After I streamed with him for the first time, everybody in my Discord, in my Creativity Kit Discord, was like, no, you can't. This he was at the Capitol. He's a terrorist. You can't. I'm telling you, he's a white supremacist KKK. And I'm like, well, he seemed fine when I talked to him. And so everybody was telling me, do not talk to him. Do not talk to him. And I kept streaming with him. And he was part of the reason that I ended up in the Senate for talking about a specific religion. We ended up there. And Nick was, I got a strike for him. I took a lot of heat talking to him and agreeing with him. You're not supposed to do that.
What's fascinating to me is a lot of the stuff that's being censored from your channels and what led to your ultimate deplatforming is that it's not partisan political issues necessarily. I think before 2022, we probably wouldn't have even considered them political at all. But you're talking about women's feminism culture that's ultimately destroying, and I agree with that, womanhood in America today. You're talking about men being under attack and them trying to blur the lines between genders. That's become so partisan, but in reality, it's not. Why do you think all of those lies have become so controversial, and why people feel so passionately about them?
Because people don't have a lot going on, and so they attach themselves to ideas and identity. We have this thing called identity politics, where people pretty much define themselves by their race or their political ideology or their gender pronouns. If you are not that successful in business or in what you want to do, you can substitute that for being extremely woke, and even like wearing 3 masks. Like you can feel the best thing in your day could be wearing 3 masks and then like giving people dirty looks for only wearing 1. That was a lot of people. Or like going
Still
and like
is actually.
like, did you even get boosted? Like, and people will feel a sense of moral superiority for nothing. And we give that to people because of the wealth divide and how there's way more successful people who are not willing to share it at all. So the divide is getting bigger. And so for all the people who are not on the side of success, we give them things like masks, like gender pronouns, like gender fluidity. Look how POC you are. Look how oppressed you are. You have depression, so nothing is your fault. We give people all these reasons to feel good about their failures. And I liked what you talked about before the stream. It got cut off, but you were talking about the difference between feminism and femininity. And I love that point. You embrace femininity, you reject feminism. Because when I say feminism is poison, it brainwashes so many of the women in the West. They have no idea what they're talking about. Women have the same amount of rights as men. The wage gap is a lie. And women should embrace being feminine rather than try to be girl boss CEOs running wild and taking power from men, which is just cheap dopamine and not real happiness.
Yeah, I could not agree with you more. And what's fascinating to me is that our entire generation of women have bought into this lie that they are a second-class citizen, when in reality, women make up the majority of college graduates. They make up the majority of grad school graduates. They've already been the majority for several years of STEM graduates. So more women are becoming doctors and engineers and mathematicians than men. Women are more likely than men to get hired for the same job or to be promoted for a job that they already have. They're starting to make more money than men. I mean, we could keep going on and on and on. And yet we've bought into this lie that we are always going to be under the thumb of men. When in reality, the messaging for feminism, that you need to reject the idea of marriage or dating with intention and just climb the corporate ladder and sleep around forever, and that's going to bring you fulfillment. That you have to live in a big city and always be in the office and never have a close group of friends or never go home to your husband and family because that's not for you. That's not what success is going to be like. That is really oppressing you under men. That we need to kill our own children and embrace the abortion lobby because that's the only way for us to really be empowered instead of doing what we were designed to do, how God designed us to participate in this society. But in reality, that is oppressing us under men. So it blows my mind that all of these women run around saying they care about femininity, they care about womanhood, they want women to be empowered, when in reality they're advocating for policies and talking points that continue to keep them at a second-rate slot.
Yeah, and you seem very happy embracing your feminine nature, and I wish that more women would see that. They will be a lot happier. Like the women, this is a big reason why I left New York City. I will go to like the BLM protests or like the stuff happening in Washington Square Park, and you just see these non-gender women. And even then, I saw something on PragerU recently that 2% of high school girls are identifying as transgender now. Like when women,
it's actually probably more than that. An Axios poll came out lately that said 20% of our generation self-identifies as LGBTQ.
That LGBTQ, but 2%, which I think is crazy, are identifying as trans. Yeah. LGBTQ is one thing, but kind of the same thing, but 2% of teenage girls are starting to identify as trans. So when they go through this confusing period where they're trying to figure themselves out and align themselves and figure out their body and everything, instead of like telling them that you can be confused and this is a confusing time and it's not all going to be figured out when you're 17, we feed them, here's trans, here's some pills, come with me, you'll feel much better. Take this flag, take some testosterone. And then I was in New York and going to these protests, and you see these like shaved head, armpit hair, purple hair, like sad body girls, kind of boys, and they're just like, fuck the police, fuck you, fuck Trump, nah! I'm like, oh my God, you look disgusting. This does not look like a happy existence.
They're not happy.
They're unhappy, and they're just yelling at cops, and they're yelling about, oh, my battery's fucked up. Can you talk about how annoying these people are for a second?
Yes, 100%. No, I totally agree with you. And what's crazy is they blame all of that unhappiness on everyone else. But the craziness is that they're bringing it upon themselves. And these are the same women who consistently talk. If you guys are seeing, oh, there we go. You're back. Good. If you saw him blank out for a second, we're just changing the battery, so don't go anywhere. But these are the same women that are blaming men. They're blaming the cops. They're blaming the patriarchy. They're blaming their parents. They're blaming the church. And there's no self-ownership for, maybe I should just get in touch with who I am instead of running away from that every single opportunity that I can, and then I'll be happy. There's no coincidence between the rise of woke ideology and the fact that we are dealing with the greatest mental health crisis any generation has ever seen.
Exactly. When did you realize all this? Because feminism is being pushed down our throats so much, and the woke movement is so strong that for young people in Gen Z, it's pretty much just the default ideology, or else you're a Fox News alt-right Nazi piece of shit. So how did you get out of that?
I was raised conservative, which was good. I'm very grateful for that. But I was always encouraged by my parents, who are attorneys, that I had to question everything. And they forced me to join the speech and debate team in high school, which was pretty much social suicide. I already had no friends in high school, and joining the debate team does not help that. I speak from experience. But it did allow me to learn how to research the whole subject, right? To understand why people believe what they do, to articulate that from the other side, because I had to when I was competing. And then that allowed me to seek the truth. I never thought I would be a streamer or a content creator. I actually went to college to be a trauma surgeon, and I studied biomedical sciences. So I loved the pursuit of truth. I loved asking the hard questions. I loved determining what we proved to be real versus what we knew was fake, what general scientific consensus said about the world. And even when I was taking classes like anatomy and OChem and physiology, I spent a lot more time talking about my professor's political ideology than the pursuit of objective truth. I think the whole world got a little window into how science isn't really about truth anymore in the last few years.
No,
it's about a very short, bearded, non-bearded man.
Woke people will say, trust the science. Why are you questioning science? When the definition of science is questioning. Why would you say trust the science when the whole point is to question it? It's gone completely backwards. But it's funny that you went to debate class and you said that you don't agree with Nick, but you sound like you had the same trajectory. And a lot of people, like I was in the debate club too. I was one of those fucking nerds debating people and going back and forth about abortion and pro-life instead of running around and trying to like go to parties and get drunk with everybody else. I was one of the nerds going to conventions and wearing a suit, debating like political policies that I didn't really know much about.
If only the kids in high school could see us now, is all I'm saying. So what's really crazy to me is that you're saying all of this. You've kind of been going down this journey for a while. This wasn't an overnight thing for you that you just decided to start posting about this 3 weeks ago when you got completely deplatformed off the internet. You had an opportunity to go to Romania and talk to the other internet's most wanted individual, Andrew Tate. Do you think that was kind of the shove off the cliff for why you started to get your accounts completely taken down versus somewhat censored?
Yeah, I personally think that's what it was. And YouTube will always have a justification. They said that the reason I was banned was because I had 3 strikes, and the third strike was me circumventing the ban by posting a short on my main channel saying, hey guys, I just got a second strike. I can't stream for 14 days. I'll see you soon. Goodbye. That was the title. Goodbye. That was the short. And I did that because I show Speed, and I didn't want to like talk about this at first because I didn't want to rat on him, but it's a very clear inconsistency with their rules because Speed did the exact same thing. He's the biggest streamer on the platform. He got a second strike and he said it, I can't stream for a while. I'll see you guys soon. He posted after getting a second strike on his main channel. He posted that on his other channel. So I did the same exact thing. The difference is they terminated me off of that. They said I'm circumventing the ban, even though it was just me saying like I got a strike. So there's very clear favoritism, and they were just trying to get me off the platform. When I was in Romania, I got 2 strikes. I got a cyberbullying strike from an old ass video, and I think I got another misinformation something. And it was right before doing the emergency meeting. No, it was right after doing Tate's emergency meeting. And one thing I talked about, which went viral, was that I was kicked off the emergency meeting. He eventually let me back on the show, like right before. The guy's a rebel. He's like, come on. But he heard from an insider that, yo, you are under a big tech microscope right now. They're watching you. He said that before I got banned. So there must be some level of truth to that. And I think that seeing how fast I was growing, especially ending up on the emergency meeting, like somebody who I was reacting to so much, getting to that point, like the top of truth seeking, or like the final battle, you know, like ending up on that podcast was like, you know what? Maybe he's growing too fast. Maybe he is starting to learn too much. Maybe he's going to be spreading too much truth. You know, he's learning. He must be learning something from Andrew Tate it's gonna make him a problem. Let's delete him. And it was like, you know, like 8 days before they banned Andrew Tate, so the same shit happened to me. I don't think
it was like a week.
It was very calculated, and I think it's stupid to not think that they weren't all watching and just pulled the switch when they decided it was too much.
The label that I'm seeing on Andrew and you more than anything else, especially on TikTok, is that you guys are misogynists, that you hate women, which is very silly, because if you did any actual research and didn't just Google people's names, you would realize that's the farthest thing from the truth. Why do you think people are calling you anti-woman or a misogynist, or that you hate femininity? Feminism, I should say. You like femininity.
We love femininity. We hate feminism. The reason that they will always attack, and I'm sure you probably got alt-right. I'm sure you got Nazi before.
Oh, I've been called everything. Nazi Barbie, anti-woman, always from men who call me that. And I thought no uterus, no opinion, but I guess the rules change all the time.
There's no consistency with it. So yeah, I predicted that right away. Andrew Tate, they called him a human trafficker. With me, they called me a misogynistic incel. And Kanye, they'll say he's crazy. Trump, they say alt-right. Me, I get alt-right too. I get crazy all the time too. They say I'm off my meds. So basically, whenever you're saying a level of truth, society lives in a world of lies. So instead of trying to listen to somebody that might change their entire worldview, instead of listening to the person who's trying to tell you that pretty much everything you believe in is a lie, they get triggered. The bots malfunction, and they will say all these words, all these labels to dismiss you as somebody who's telling the truth. So Andrew Tate being a human trafficker was a complete lie. None of that made any sense, but so much of the internet adamantly believes it. I was just in LA, and I was doing a 1-minute podcast outside on Your Fellow Arabs channel, and I was talking to this cam girl, a girl who shows her titties for a living on a stream, and then something, she brought up misogyny. She started talking about Andrew Tate. I'm like, why don't you like Andrew Tate? And she's walking away. She's like, because he's a human trafficker, and then walks away. Childish behavior. She has no follow-up. She knows it's bullshit, but she would rather not have a conversation about it. She would shut it out, telling her brain, I don't want to think about this. He's a human trafficker, walk away. Not know why, not know that there's no evidence backing it up. I stayed at his house. It's bullshit. I'm telling, like, anybody who still believes that, it's nonsense. The fact that you believe that is showing how much bullshit can run wild on the internet. It happens to everybody. It happened to Trump with the Russian misinformation, saying that he was colluding with Putin. Like, what are you talking about? But that's what they do. They will put lies on your name, and so quickly, because of how much censorship there is and how much they control the narrative, they can have a lie run wild. And if so many people believe it, it's almost like it's real. It's as if it's real.
Yeah, it's almost like the narrative is the truth. It doesn't matter what the truth is. The court of public opinion ultimately will always determine what the truth was about you, what your legacy is. You were telling me earlier today about a YouTube video from a big YouTuber about why you should be banned from YouTube. Can you tell us more about that?
So there's a lot of soy boy feminists who are so afraid of discussion, and that's why I shout out Destiny all the time, because he's the only leftist soy boy bot who's able to have a conversation, because he's... One day, I think he's going to become red-pilled because he's too smart for that. But most of these people, they will make a video saying YouTube should ban Sneako, he should be deplatformed, and then they will also be too afraid to have a conversation with me. It's disgusting. It's just pussy behavior. They will make edited up like documentaries about me, but they can't even talk because they're afraid of a confrontation. Because the couple times I've got on a call with these soy boys, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. Like, it goes viral. They look dumb. They're sitting here. They don't know what to say. They can't think fast enough. Their bullshit gets called out too quickly. So they would rather live in their nonsense, deplatform the person who's triggering me, and don't talk to me. I don't want to listen. It's literal childish behavior. They can't think with other people. This guy made a video saying YouTube should ban Sneako, dangly earring, soy boy glasses, painted fingernails, just a blueprint feminist who doesn't understand masculinity at all, who lives chronically online, doesn't know what the real world is like at all, in a sheltered little LA village or whatever the fuck, saying that YouTube should ban me. And if we ever got on a call, man, let alone real life, like if I ever looked that guy in the eyes, bro, he would shrivel up and fall. Like like, what are you gonna talk to me about? If we got on a call on Discord, like, what would you even say? And I don't want these people to take credit for the fact that I'm banned. It's much bigger than that. The Senate, the government played me. And I've heard from insiders that I'm under a microscope. It was all big tech that got me, except for my Instagram. You can still follow me at Sneako. But it was a decision from big tech. They all called each other. They said this guy is making strides that we cannot control, and we should just shut him out. And the fact that these soy boys are trying to take credit for it, it's just like, just go back to making your terrible videos.
Has that concerned you at all for the future of streaming and content creation? Obviously, you're not on your own channel right now. You don't even have a channel. But does that make you feel like you have to self-censor, that you're afraid to talk about certain subjects? Or are you even more motivated to just dive right in?
I am more motivated to dive right in, and I have a lot less restrictions. But I don't want to keep feeding people ammunition to not listen to what I'm saying. So I would rather be more empathetic now and try to explain points that people can understand. But you also have to realize the difference between me and you, Isabel, is that the people all watching you pretty much all agree with you. I reach a lot of people that disagree with me, and that's something that's very beneficial. I can communicate with bots, and I do that by making normie content and yelling about normal stuff that makes a lot of people dislike me. And so I got to realize everybody in this spiritual warfare needs to understand their role. So I can trigger the bots, and I know how to do that. I can make short form normie content, and my method is I'm going to make them think I'm crazy. And then when I sit down in an interview with you, everyone sees how calm and like they see my disposition, and it gets and they get scared. Like, cause oh look, he's not as crazy as we thought. He's not actually not off his meds. He's not bipolar. He's not just a misogynist incel. Look, I am talking to a woman. I'm not freaking out. I'm freaking out about feminists. So if I can show them, and in fact, everybody who thinks I'm a woman, you see the effect of this? Everybody who thinks I'm a misogynist, they see how I'm talking to you right now. They're like, oh, and they have no ammunition anymore. So it's kind of beneficial in a way that I could take all the bullets, let them call me misogynist, incel, problematic, toxic, insecure. Let them do that, and then sit down once in a while and have a rational conversation. And then that will make all the bots have to rethink what they were told. Oh, look, he's not as misogynistic as I actually thought. So I want to do both. I want to keep yelling. I want to trigger people, but then also have smart dialogue and talk to the people that already support me. But I know the benefit in reaching all the people who are still brainwashed.
Do you see the bots changing their minds?
I have. My family was some of them. A lot of people from New York that I used to spend a lot of time with. And I could see them in my DMs. I could see them in my comment sections. And I know it. Like, if I'm hitting strides like this and they have to ban me, I must be waking up a demographic that they weren't ready for. I want to see a 1 in the chat right now. Type a 1 if you were a bot, if you were a boosted bot who started to rethink when you started seeing my content. Or you just think I'm full of shit and you're watching for entertainment. But I want to see a 1 right now if you guys think that I changed your mind to some degree. I'm seeing a lot of 1s. I'm seeing a lot of 1s.
That's huge. I actually think a lot of these conversations have to happen through controversial content now, because we're not having these conversations in real life. We've lied to people for so long successfully that it's the most evil thing you can possibly do to sit down with people that you disagree with. You can't talk about politics and religion at your family dinner table, let alone with your friends in college or while you guys are just hanging out. So content really is the future of what that looks like. But gosh darn it, is it hard when you just get totally deplatformed and everything gets flagged for hate speech, when in reality you're trying to do the opposite of hate people. You're trying to love them and tell them the truth.
Exactly. That's why I need to lead with more empathy as well. And to build on that previous question, I am afraid of being debanked. I don't want to be on a no-fly list, and I would like to keep my bank accounts. And also, we were talking before about how in California they shut off your water and they shut off your electricity if you weren't abiding by the cough restrictions. So there's a lot that the government, like, cancel culture is not just big tech. It's not just taking away your Snapchat. It's also your livelihood, your life, your bank, your water, your light, your power. That's what you need to survive. They can take it away like that if you don't follow their agenda.
Yeah, we were talking about earlier the evolution of cancel culture. And I think in the last 5 years, maybe even less than that, we've watched cancel culture become a buzzword, then mean get your tweet taken down, or your account gets temporarily suspended for 24 hours, or your friend doesn't want to be friends with you for a couple of days. You get an F on your paper, all the way to where we are now in October of 2022, where PayPal is talking about fining you $2,500 if you commit misinformation crime, according to their employees, where JP Morgan is going to take away your bank account if you're questioning the narrative. And when people are literally losing their license to practice medicine, to practice law, if they go against the loudest voices and the people in power. With the evolution of cancel culture, like a snowball rolling down the hill, where do you see that going?
I don't know what else they could take. I don't know what else they could take besides literally killing you, like communist China. Kidnapping you and torturing you. That's as far as it goes. They've done that to Edward Snowden, and they did that to Julian Assange. He's probably being tortured right now for telling the truth. And Edward Snowden has to go all the way to Russia. So there's no limits to what they can do. They have ultimate control. I didn't know that PayPal could take away $2,500 for misinformation.
Well, they ended up backtracking. They put that sneakily in the terms and conditions update that nobody ever reads, right? And somebody happened to read it. And I think it was Daily Wire that broke the story originally out of Nashville. So everybody said, fine, let's boycott PayPal and take our money out of there. And then they backtracked for now.
For now. But there's probably still a clause where they could do that anyway. And that should be alarming. I don't know what else they could take away, but we need people who are fighting the good fight. We need people like you, and it's gonna be a confusing next step for me, figuring out where I'm gonna go, what I'm gonna do. But I have things lined up, and it's just confusing that it's just such a big shift. You know, I've been doing this on the same way the whole time.
Yeah, you have, and you've been making a huge impact the whole time. I think that impact has changed a bit and evolved as you've continued to ask more of these questions. Have you noticed that changing your relationship with other creators and other YouTubers and streamers? KSI comes to mind, for example, as someone who used to be a huge fan of yours and now is making fun of you on live streams.
Yeah, Ethan Decline and LSI are two YouTubers that I used to look up to when I was younger for being different, being edgy, doing content that shook the grounds of what we thought was okay. And that's why we liked it so much. And Ethan Decline especially inspired me to make this content. He's going to watch this right now. I know he is. Ethan, you used to make content that was following the same motto as me. Seek truth through funny. You used to be able to pick fun at both sides. You used to be able to analyze things. You did not have a bias. You weren't afraid of being canceled. You weren't afraid of backlash. You weren't afraid of negative comments. You weren't afraid of triggering people. And you sold your soul. You sold out. You got canceled for saying problematic things, and you folded like a bitch. And now you make Twitter, cancel culture, leftist, woke mob content because you want to keep your podcast. You want to make money, and you say nothing of value. You're not even funny anymore. You just got slower, dumber, fatter, weaker. And it's disappointing to see that because I used to idolize you. And that's why I talk about it all the time. I've seen how you switched up, and that's why they celebrate when I'm banned, because they're like, fuck, great. Now this guy's not going to go challenge my audience. Now this guy's gone, and he's not going to make me feel bad, and I could sleep at night knowing that this guy's not going to keep on roasting me. It's disappointing, though. It's disappointing. And I think a lot of the audience is going to flip when they realize that those content creators are full of shit.
Do you think that's ever going to happen?
I think it's slowly happening now. If you look at Ethan Decline's Social Blade, he's lost like 10,000 subscribers in the past month. If you look at his comment section, everybody is just clowning on him. Even his fans know he's a fraud. He's full of shit. Everybody knows. I think they just like it, this background noise. I'm not sure what the demographic is, but people start to wake up when you can't lie for years and get away with it. Eventually, you need to face the truth.
So how do creators that aren't necessarily political in nature, I'm very fortunate because I've always talked about all of this stuff, so it's not weird for me to start talking about it. How do they toe that line between starting to be honest about the things that they believe in and continuing to maintain their livelihood? I can imagine you getting deplatformed on so many different outlets was a huge change for how you make money and how you provide for yourself. That's probably why people are so afraid to speak out, and I don't blame them for that. But how do we encourage people to be honest and to seek truth and ask the hard questions, which is ultimately the responsibility of somebody who does have a platform while still maintaining their opportunity to be present?
Not everybody is built for it. Not everybody's capable. You saw it with Nori on Drink Champs. He had a yay on for 3 hours, and he was talking about foreign affairs and how who really runs the media, who really runs the banks. He was talking about why he's jealous of certain powers and how he wants to bring that power to his people. And the showrunner of Drink Champs sold out. He went on it was up for fucking 12 hours. And then the next day he could not handle the backlash and went on every radio show apologizing for somebody who didn't even say the shit that it wasn't even his words. The showrunner was apologizing for what Ye said. That's how afraid he is of losing everything. You just want to get debanked. I understand it, but don't have him on if you can't handle the heat. This is what happens when you speak the truth now. Most people are not built for it. They don't want to lose everything that they work for. Obviously, I spent 9 years doing my main channel. They deleted that too. That wasn't great, but I care more about the truth than I care about getting to a bag. That's genuinely true. And I know that everything is going to fall into place because there's not a lot of people doing it. So I would suggest for most people, if they really want to seek truth, that you're going to go down a rabbit hole that you're not ready for. And most people aren't ready for it, so you might as well stick to Fortnite videos if you just want to play it safe. Go on E-dates, do a little TikTok dance, right? You'll be fine. Lip sync, twerk, you'll be good. But that's not what I want to do. If you want to go down this path, it's going to be very difficult. Trust me, you could see it happen to Isabel too. That's why she's on Getter.
Amen to that. That's why these platforms matter. I know you have a lot going on in your life, so I want to talk about a few more things, and then we'll let you continue streaming or do whatever else you need to do tonight. What do you think, as we round a turning point, really, for values of culture in this culture war, are the biggest issues facing our generation, and what can we do to tell the truth about them?
You could start by living in truth. A lot of people live in a lie, and it's because we have privileged lives and things are getting easier and there's not a lot of hardships going on. That's what happens when life becomes easy for most people. We live in a first world. Like everybody in the West has it pretty easy comparatively. And so to give themselves hardship and trouble, they believe in a bunch of lies like the police are out to get me, or I'm oppressed because of the wage gap, or I'm a minority so I'll never be successful. They make up a bunch of reasons why to feel good about themselves. And so to start seeking the truth for most people, because they're not going to be YouTubers. Like these people aren't going to be doing what we do. I mean, not YouTubers, but streamers or content creators. They want to live their life and do their job. So if we want to go shift this and fight the spiritual warfare without yelling about it and getting debanked, start by living in truth. Start by realizing the truth and just live a happy life. Don't get all your happiness from moral superiority for putting on 3 masks and giving somebody a dirty look. Get your happiness from starting a family, from being with somebody who you love, from being around your friends, from providing for your family, by traveling the world and talking to different people. But yelling at a protest or like sending a mean tweet to somebody you disagree with is not going to do it. Add some value to the world, and that's the best way, because people are adding value by adding another gender pronoun to their bio.
Yeah. And young men in particular are falling for this lie of stepping back, of not being outspoken, of not fighting for the things they believe in, not being protectors and providers, but allowing for everyone else to come take the space. You talk a lot about this fight against masculinity and manhood. What does the next generation, our generation of young men, need to know?
They need to know that there's an active war on masculinity, and that's the reason that they're trying to make men weaker and dumber and soy boys, and the reason they want you to paint your nails and put on a dangly earring and complain and talk about how other people should be banned is because they want you to be weaker, so you don't test their power. So the first step to realizing the red pill and realizing what's really going on is that power controls everything. Everybody's out to seek power. We all want more of it. We lie, and a lot of people just don't even realize and really fully understand that. So there's books so that you could read. War and Peace is good for that. It's 48 Laws of Power. But power is what runs everything. So what do they do so that the powers that be are not tested? Well, they make the men weaker. They hoard all the wealth. They tell you to stay inside. They empower the women with a bunch of ego tripping. They manipulate women, and they manipulate us too with fear, and they're going after our empathy. So knowing that there's an active attack on masculinity so that they can hoard all of the power, you can work against that. You can become the strongest man you could be. You can become as rich as possible. You can create your own system. You can have your own family where you don't have to rely on the governments. You don't need to rely on other power. You have to create your own power, and then they cannot test you.
It's so funny to me that this whole anti-establishment fight for your individuality concept 50 years ago probably would have sounded like a really lefty comment, like a crazy liberal thing to say. But now liberal values are conservative by today's standards, and that's evolving before our very eyes every day. Something that I'm seeing with our generation that is very new to this political debate is the role of feelings and empathy. And I heard you mention empathy there a few times. I think more often than not, the conservative movement with a capital C or conservative Inc. is so deeply rooted in this facts don't care about your feelings mantra and beating you over the head with reality that we're afraid to talk about empathy and feelings as a tool to change people's minds. Our generation is feelings oriented. That's how we're motivated. We want to care for people. We were raised in a self-love, mental health awareness time, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's being manipulated by the people in power for bad and for evil. How can free thinking people, not even conservatives, but just anyone who isn't part of the woke army, use feelings as an opportunity to change people's minds for good?
I think I do it by triggering a lot of people. I know how to manipulate people emotionally by what I talk about. I can trigger. That's what I think funny is and entertainment is trying to get people to control people's emotions. That's entertainment for a lot of people. That's why people are obsessed with Jeffrey Dahmer, because they get really scared watching it. They like feeling something. So you can use that with art. If you can manipulate somebody's feelings, if you can control their feelings, then they're entertained. You're not boring. You get it. You're under their skin. So it's very easy to tell people, like, go by the facts, not your feelings. But a lot of people are not ready to. A lot of the people are extremely controlled, and they're manipulated very easily, and they're weak. So it's easy to manipulate their emotions. But once you realize the power that has, you can use that for your good. So I do that by triggering them, calling people bots, yelling in the camera, wake up. And then they go, wah, ah! And then if they see me calm and they see me understand and really explaining these points in another interview, that's how you bring them to your side. So I don't know how other people could do the same thing, but I guess the best way is just leading with love, because that's the best feeling. So
it is. And I think that's what everybody wants. Like, that's not a bad thing to say. I think we shy away from admitting that we are feelings motivated and feelings oriented beings because we're so obsessed with owning people with facts all the time and winning debates. But I think there's several different ways to do that. Humor is a fantastic way, and something that you've really perfected as a content creator and as a streamer. I think a more feminine perspective would be encouraging people to lead with empathy. Like, if you're really serious about helping people, about lifting them out of poverty, about giving them a wholesome and fulfilling lifestyle, you'll embrace these traditional values that we've always lifted up in Western society instead of giving into the lies today. But I just worry that we're so obsessed and entrenched with this I'm schooling conservatives or I'm owning the libs mantra over and over and over again, that it's more about winning the argument for the sake of a million views than actually changing people's minds.
Yeah, people don't want their minds changed. They just want their side to be right. It's like a fight. It's like you go into a conservative liberal debate just rooting for you, like, yeah, get him. It's like watching a UFC fight. And yeah, I realized that too. Like when I would talk with, a liberal or a bot, And sometimes it would just be like a normal conversation, and then I would title the video "Heated Debate Between Sneako and it was just like, okay, you know what I'm saying?
The thumbnail is like people's faces backed up against
versus
each other.
like a UFC. But that's what you got to realize. That's a good way to manipulate people's emotions. You make them think that it's a heated debate, and then really it's a conversation where people found middle ground.
What's the biggest lie you're encountering when you're interacting with the bots that's like so impossible to try to change people's minds on?
The booster shot. Easily. That's the one where, well, the science, and it's just like, come on, man. Really? That's a big one. And yeah, that's by far the biggest one that you can't, if you're really deep into the bot. I think if somebody is boosted up, you could figure out a lot about what they think. That's one where they have all the talking points backed up about science and some articles to bring up, but it's hard to explain to them that all of this is manipulated. So there's no point. You could just look at them, and I don't think there's a big point in engaging like in a back and forth heated. It's just like, you really. I'm never going to change your mind about that one if you're that deep into it. My fault.
No, you can't. And that's the really crazy reality about it. I mean, I'm a scientist, for example. I study peer-reviewed articles for years in college. I have my master's degree in the policy of science and pandemic law. And these people literally just have no idea how to critically think that science is supposed to be about questioning. Similarly, the other biggest lie is this idea that men are women and women are men, and we are going down this rabbit hole. I'll be careful of how we say this because I know you're streaming on a platform that's not super friendly to this conversation, but Ulta, for example, had a podcast that went super viral over the weekend featuring people who are trans women, and they were talking about the beauty of womanhood, about how they can't wait to be moms and they're really excited about starting families. And it's just really alarming to me how many women are backing down to this conversation to literally have not women tell them what it means to be a woman.
Yeah, it's a clown world, and the fact that real women can't even answer the question, what is a woman? That was a great documentary to really expose the level of bullshit that we're living in. But did they call you transphobic?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
I get it all the time.
It's a clown world completely.
It is. You mentioned that documentary, and I love that film. They did a great job. You also mentioned earlier another Daily Wire creator, Brett Cooper, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, but Brett has been unbelievably successful as a content creator. On YouTube, they got 1 million subs in like 4.5 months or something. She has millions upon millions of views. On TikTok, everybody over there is calling her news mommy, which I think is hilarious. And even non-political creators are making funny TikToks about DMing Brett or watching her videos. Why do you think people like Brett are so successful in reaching our generation with reality and with truth?
It's because she's young. It's because she's a nice girl, and there's no reason to really hate her. It's easy now because they program us to hate you, I would say, because you're blonde, so they can call you an alt-right Nazi. But the fact that she has brown hair is a little bit harder. Ben Shapiro, their programs are not like him because Ben Shapiro thinks he's so smart because of his eyebrows. Jordan Peterson, oh, this guy's like a nerd. He's like a teacher. But they're all kind of saying the same thing. The guys like Matt Walsh, like this guy's like an old redneck. So people can easily dismiss a lot of people. They can dismiss me by saying I'm a misogynist incel. But Brett Cooper, it's like she seems like there's no reason to dislike her. She's Gen Z. She's based. She's saying the truth, and you can't really box her in like you can with other people. And that's why because she's young, and there isn't really a blueprint stereotype for her yet. So we're all saying a lot of the same thing, but she's leading with a lot of reason, with just the right amount of humor, so that she's entertaining but also educational. Where someone like me is like, they think I'm too crazy and aggressive to really listen to me. Everybody has their own method, but she's really figured out how to communicate with Gen Z in the perfect way and say the same things that older people are saying, but in a way that people actually want to listen to her.
I am really excited to see the impact she's making, and I know it's only going to grow. For those that are interested in learning more about how to use humor as a tool to get people to ask the tough questions, what advice do you have for other young men maybe who may be watching this stream and want to do something like you and get out there as a content creator and streamer? Where do they start? How can they learn how to be funny and use humor as a tool? And how do they navigate these crazy waters of censorship?
I would say the best place to start is in my course, The Creativity Kit, where I do 3 calls a week, and I've outlined a course about how I made my videos, and also I have a case study from my editor about how the algorithm works. I have people in there networking every single day. That's a great place to start if you want to do content that's similar to mine, and also if you want to learn the algorithm. But then there's going to be, like right after you say that, there's going to be people calling it a pyramid scheme. So if you don't want to join that, if you don't want to learn the course that I've outlined through years of work, and the course that my editors outlined through years of work, a teenager who's making more money than my parents, then you should go and seek out artists that you align with, artists that you agree with, and artists that really speak to you. Start watching all of their interviews, start researching how they got to that point. Take a lot of information in, travel, really try to interview and have difficult conversations, put yourself in uncomfortable situations, and don't just try to follow someone else's path completely. Find the truth for yourself. It's difficult too, because you're going to get beaten down. People are going to call you wrong. You're going to get insulted. And you have to realize that's just part of it. That's happened to you, right? Like when you were into the debate team or getting into content creation, when you get that L spam in the chat, or when you fuck up and you get canceled because you said the wrong word, it hurts. And you got to realize that you need to go through that to be stronger, and so that you can tweak all of everything that's missing in your messaging. So it's not a process that can happen overnight. It takes years of work, and you've been watching my videos for a while. It took me 9 years to get to the point where I feel confident and I really strongly believe in my purpose and what I'm saying.
Yeah, you have to be willing to fail. I often get asked by people, how do I build a following? How do I have a video go viral? Whatever. I think you just have to be willing, to put yourself out there, to know that sometimes people aren't going to like what you have to say, or they're going to not like your video. And it's not always going to be in a perfectly lit studio with perfect equipment. You just got to post something. And there will often be times that people are unhappy with what you're saying. But once you navigate what you believe in and how you articulate that to people, I think it becomes a lot easier over time. But you got to be willing to fail, which is a hard thing to do these days.
No, people will make so many excuses rather than admit that they failed, especially when we live online so much. It's like everything feels like a performance, and if you failed once, then you're a failure for good. But I had an advantage. I started when I was very young, and that's why I think my course is beneficial, because I can help you avoid a lot of the mistakes that I made in my journey to become a canceled content creator.
I like that term. You should put that in your Instagram bio. I think that's great.
The cancel nah, that's too. I will think about it. That's pretty good.
We'll think about it. You said something earlier that I wanted to make sure we get in before the end of the stream. You were talking about authenticity, and I'm trying to remember that one-liner you came up with, and I cannot remember it for the life of me. Do you remember what we were talking about?
I said, I remember something about conformity.
Yes, that you were saying when we're talking to the next generation, the only way to mature is to conform. That maturity is conformity.
Exactly.
How can we talk to Gen Z about breaking free of that?
I would say that's the biggest ideology besides the booster. And that's actually part of it. This is a better idea, because the boost, it is conforming. Everybody was telling you to do it. You have to be one of us. People have to realize, and that the idea that most people live with is that maturity is conformity. So we're told that giving up on your dreams, getting a job, giving up, listening to somebody else, giving up your power, giving up your control is maturity, when that's really conformity, and that you're immature if you follow the dreams you had when you were a kid. But I disagree completely. I've always attained the idea that I want to accomplish the dreams I had when I was 12 years old, because that's how I'm going to be happy. And it's not immature to want to do what you wanted to do as a kid. That's just following your dreams and not selling out and not giving up and conforming to the system. Conformity is not maturity. That's just giving up a part of you. And this has happened to me now that I've been canceled on almost all of them except for Instagram and Discord. Being canceled on all these social media platforms, people in my family are telling me just yesterday, I'll be honest, my mom told me yesterday, you should give up. Give up now. Stop trying to do content creation. You should get a job. Word for word text. I didn't respond to that because that's just like, imagine if people feel a level of comfort saying that when you're chasing your dreams, give up. But you don't tell that to a doctor. You don't tell that to a teacher. You should quit. You don't say that. You know that what they're doing is what they do. You don't get in the way of what their livelihood is. But now that I've been canceled, and even now I'm still making like way more money than I was making when I was like just making main channel content. I'm saying give up. Get a job. You tried it, but just conform now. Mature. Mature means give up on your dreams. Mature means conform. And that's the idea that a lot of people can get away with. And if you realize that, you can achieve your dreams before it's too late, because there does come a certain age and a certain point and a certain amount of debt you've accrued and all these responsibilities that you need to attain to where you can't follow your heart anymore. And if you realize that,
Be
mature is
a rebel.
You can avoid that.
Follow your heart. I love it. Sneako, where can people find you now that you've been pretty much exercised from the whole social media realm? Where are you still active? Where can people support you and your content?
So you can follow me on Instagram at Sneako. That's the last Matrix social media platform I still have, at Sneako. And there's also this really good YouTube channel. I don't own it, but I've heard it's really good. It's called Soldier of God. And I don't really know much about it, but that's a great YouTube channel. I will go follow that. Soldier of God, go subscribe to that one. I don't know who owns it. Also, but if you want to see the updates of where I'm going to stream, because I right now my host of the stream he's taking his shit in the bathroom. But if you want to see my streams and get updated to that, follow me on Instagram, and you can just watch my story and see where it pops up. So thank you for having me, Isabel. I would love to do this again. I think you asked great questions. Even though we repeated a lot of the same talking points, it was not stale, it was not boring. And yeah, appreciate your time. Thanks for having me.
You are the best, Sneako. We'll make sure to give you some love, and I'll make sure everybody knows where to follow you in our live chat. If you guys are watching me over on the other stream from that long bathroom break, thanks for being here. I stream every night at 8 p.m. Eastern on Getter exclusively at The Isabel Brown. So hope to see you over here on a censorship-free platform. We'll see you next time, Sneako.
Bye. Thank you. See you next time. W's in the chat for Isabel, man. Chat, you're wildin', bro. Oh my God, you can't have a girl on. I'm trying to beat these fucking allegations that everyone's here. Ask her body count. Ask her body count. Shut the fuck up, chat. God damn, man.
That's it.
Your job?